Welcome to the Live Courageously podcast show. I'm your host, John Duffy, and this is my 57th Live Courageously podcast show since I started the show about 2 years ago. Live Courageously has been the conscious theme of my life for the last 3 years since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, and has been an unconscious theme for most of my life. This is a very special show as I make another turn around the sun and celebrate my birthday week this week. And so this show is with a childhood and lifelong friend from my neighborhood in the Mount Haven section of the South Bronx. And we're going to go on a journey and way back into our youth. And hopefully, somehow we're going to try and squeeze it into an hour, which is kind of doing the impossible. So today I'd like to introduce you to my guest, my good brother, Eduardo, as we used to call him, Go-Go Gomez. He grew up in the South Bronx with me, and he lived through its worst days when the Bronx was burning. He went on to obtain his master's degree in education, in leadership and supervision at Nova Southeastern University, a bachelor's degree in sociology and psychology at Taylor University, and he also had future training at Barry University in Florida, and did a master's study in school counseling and at the U.S. Secret Service School, a safety course. Eduardo was a special assistant, a technical trainer, an MBA in college professional athletics at Best Ball Analytics. He also worked at the following institutions: the vice principal of schools at Tequesta Trace Middle School, counselor at Miami Jackson Senior High School, a sports director at the USA National Games in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, vice minister of sports and R&D at Gulf and Western Americas Corporation, and sports program director. He's received the following recognitions and honors. He was a member of the Dominican Sports Hall of Fame, a member of the Gallery of Immortal Naco Sports Club, athlete of the Century Basketball Club, member of ACD Sports Writers Association from 1978 on, vice president of Florida Sports Union from 2021 to the present, Dominican American National Foundation, former president. He is also recognized by the mayor of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as Distinguished Citizen, and the mayor of Santo Domingo, Distinguished Son, 1977, and gold medal national team member. And he represented the DR Central America at the Caribbean Games and Pan American Games in the Philippines in 1978. So welcome, my good brother from the South Bronx, Eduardo Go-Go Gomez. Hey, brother, thank you for being part of this, man.
My goodness, John, what a pleasure indeed. Some 60 years later, we are here. Thank God to tell a story, right? To share our youthful memories of two kids, one of Irish descent and one born Dominican that arrived in the South Bronx in 1962, my friend. That's almost 61 years ago.
Now I feel even older today. My birthday was this week, man. Hey, we started on the bottom, man. We started from the bottom. No doubt about it, brother.
There's no question about it. But most importantly, we have always sent the elevator back down so others can rise. And I really admire all the work that you do and all your motivational speaking and all that you do, helping people. That's what you have done all of your life. So I'm really proud of the work that you have done.
Well, you know, like you said, you came in 62. I was there. This is where I grew up and lived 18 years of my life, right in that building, 400 East 141st Street, right on the corner of Willis Avenue, man. So
hey, you're not the only one that lived there. I never I slept there many nights watching ball games, and I had some great meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Thank courtesy of your mother and you and your brother Pat. I mean, you're not the only one that lived there, my friend. Many of us, and I was one that can say that I'm really thankful forever indebted to you and your family for having me as a son. You can say.
Well, this is you remember this is our apartment. This is where you're talking about. That's my mom, Ann, and that was right. Where you watch many baseball, basketball, and every other sports with my brother. And you guys would go at it nonstop, man. It was just like it was its own entertainment to listen to the two of you going back and forth at who was best in every sport.
You better believe it. Many nights we spend the whole night just watching sports, hockey, basketball, football, boxing, you name it, track and field, softball, anything that was sports. I mean, that was part of our lives part of our DNA. And many times the television watched us, because I had those tendency of going to sleep early.
Yes, you did. Yes, you're the only guy that I ever knew that could fall asleep standing up on the fence in the basketball court at Berger Junior High School, man.
That is correct. Not too many people have that talent, and I am one that for definitely. I did it many times.
Absolutely. Here's a picture of you back in the day, man. Because one thing we used to do back then was dress sharp, and you were that's you looking sharp, man. That was another part of what we did growing up in that neighborhood.
That's right, but you had your own style. Now that we talk about dressing, Johnny, I mean, you only you could do what you did. I mean, you're the first guy that actually influenced me, because I mean, you dress, and I mean, I remember those purple pink corduroys. I mean, you was really you didn't have no problem for your self-esteem. So I admire that part of you also. So I mean, even in your fashion, you influence some of the things I did, because I said to myself, why not express myself? And this is, if I like colors, so be it. So you was a trendsetter before Allen Iverson and all these hip hop guys. You did it first.
Well, it was funny because we used to, when I think back on it, it's so crazy. But, fashion was a big part of growing up in a neighborhood like the South Bronx, right? And so, we kind of created our own style. And I remember we used to actually save our money up and go design our own pants and have tailors make our pants. And then we'd play basketball in it. I mean, it's so crazy thinking back on it. But like, it was all about style. We all wanted to represent, we wanted to come out and look good and just, we're living in the ghetto, but we felt good about ourselves,
You better believe it. We were maybe economically and money wise, we were poor, dirt poor, but we were so happy. We were very rich, and fortunately that we survived, like you say, and your motto, only the strong survive. Well, we had to be strong. We didn't have a choice.
Well, a lot of why we did, and one was family, because like you said, you spent time over my house. I spent time over your house. Your mother, Annie, was like my mother, as just like my mother was your mother. That was one of the things that made it so. For people outside, they couldn't understand because they saw it as just a horrible ghetto, which it was. But for us, it was family and friends, and we didn't see all the negative. We saw all the good that we were experiencing with, and I'm gonna put up your mom, a picture of your mom that I got right here, and that's your daughter as well. And it's just like, it's that kind of moments in time that just sustained us when we were kids, right?
You better believe it. It was different times, I guess, and but we were brothers. We were family, and I mean, that's today. It's unfortunate that in our most impoverished neighborhoods, that's not happening because of the violence and gangs, which is crazy to me. I can never understand how, you can poison your own family, your own people. I mean, it's crazy, and I wish it was different, because I thought we had it bad during that time, but I mean, you can't even compare the world that our kids are living in today and what they're facing. I mean, it's really unfortunate to see how far down we have come as a country, America. It's unfortunate, because what a beautiful country, and the best country in the democracy in the world. But we have gone back in race relations. So much is so unfortunate.
Well, it's kind of hard for people, we went through so much together, and even on our block back then, but it was different, because I was on 400. Fort 10 was where all the Puerto Rican friends of ours lived. You were down on 434, right? Was it
Yes.
434? And
434. 436. 436.
436. That's right. 436. And then beyond the block. So it was kind of divided. I was the white kid up there. The Puerto Ricans were in the middle. You were further down the block, the Dominicans. And then the African-American black kids were down further. Right. And I kind of, I went up and down the block, and the other people were like, like they stayed where they grew up in their building, and I'm like hanging with everybody. And because of you got me into, this is me, a picture of me playing basketball on somebody's hoop in the back of their house. But we grew up, man, and you got me on a team because we play street ball, but you got me one season on a team down at Berger Junior High. And that was the first time I actually played team ball. And it was the best experience I ever had, man. And you introduced me to a whole nother world of basketball and people. And it just brought in my life that, that one particular season that we played at Berger. But you remember all that, man.
Correct. You play under Coach Ralph Bako, who played college at Southern Illinois, the same school where Walt Frazier went to school. And we were very fortunate at the times that we had what we call night centers, and the middle schools there were open at night, like from 7 to 9:30 at night. That gave us an opportunity to play ball, to meet men's like you and many others like us. We didn't have a strong father figure at times in our lives. They were the role models. They are the one that took us under their wings. People like Nate Archibald, people like Walt Simon, and like I said, Ralph Bako, Vinny Brewer. These are some of the guys that really I have a lot of respect for, because mentoring worked. I mean, here's Nate Archibald, who lived down the street from us at the Patterson Project, who was a dear friend to this day, and Hall of Famer. Person that's never forgotten the South Bronx. And when he was an NBA All-Star, leading scorer in the NBA, the only man that ever lead the league in scoring and in assists the same year, 34 points per game, 12 assists per game. He was still hanging out in the summer playing with us at the Mitchell house. And I remember many nights we played till 5 o'clock in the morning, and he lived out in Long Island. So quality people, quality role models that came back to the city, have never left the city, and helped others, kids like you and I. So I'm a result of people like Nate Archibald. So I thank you, Tiny, for that you did for me and all the kids in the South Bronx.
Well, we played all the time, and then obviously you grew bigger, and you just became in another league compared to me, man. Because I was like, hanging out with some of you. I mean, just you went so far, because basketball was something that took you to another level. It took you to school. It took you to playing in the Dominican Republic. It took you to all kinds of places. For me, what I credit basketball with, and I still play it to this day, is it credited me. It gave me to not get caught up in heroin and drugs, because it was my drug. And I wanted to play basketball, like you said, until 5 a.m. I didn't want to go home and go to sleep. I wanted to play basketball. And so when all the other guys were like, "Hey, let's go get high," I was like, "Yeah, later, when I finish the game." And then we never finished the game. We just kept playing another game, right? So
that is correct.
So I didn't get the talent as good as you, or the size, but you went on to create some great stuff as a basketball player. And I mean, tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about your journey with basketball, because I think it was a great journey you went on.
Well, before I went on that journey, I'd like to say that you went on another journey, and that was education. That was reading. Your passion for reading was unbelievable. And actually, I want to share this story because, I remember that day that you told me you was dropping out of school. It just hit me so hard. I couldn't believe it. But then, you was honest and with me, and you told me, but I learned more at home. And I said, what? Well, I'm a witness, because you had a bookshelf just like you have in your background right now, and you had all these books that you read. So you was reading so much, and reading is power, right? And knowledge is power, and I was really impressed by that. And I just like to share with the audience here that I went on to college, graduated, and came back. I remember taking a test for the teaching profession in New York, and I had problem with my writing. So you helped me to learn how to write a paper, how to write my essays, and that's a credit to you. So I was unbelievable that the college dropout was giving me the college graduate now a lesson in writing. So that was very Interesting. But Johnny, for sports has been part of our lives, and I mean, I owe my life to sports, because if it wasn't because of sports, we wouldn't be here today. And actually, because he helped me survive. When we first won in 1962, we started out at PS 30 elementary school up on 146th Street. And I remember going to school then. The 1 week I had 4 fights in 5 days. Basically, because I was different, because I was a Chico, and give me your money, they'll slap us over the head. And actually, I went out one day and played ball with some of the guys, Raymond Jones and a couple other guys. And then after that, they say, hey, wait a second, that Chico is bad, meaning I was good in sports. Right. So from then on, I mean, they protected me and never had another problem after that. So that was the first value of sports. The other value was that I was taught right across the street from us, from your house, was Willis Avenue Methodist Church, where I played on my first team under Mr. Barkley was our coach. I think he was a priest there or worked for the church. And I remember how he taught us the value. Hey, if you want to be a good ball player, then you couldn't drink, smoke, or do any drugs. So I wanted to be a good ball player. So that put a stop to that. I remember the second team I played on was Glad Tidings Church. That was a church, that was a group of Mennonites that came to do work in the city. Remember that church, Glad Tidings? So I played on that team, and I remember the first encounter I had with drugs or marijuana. Actually, after the game, a couple of teammates and cheerleaders were smoking marijuana. So I just came in. I was cold, you can say. And sure enough, one of the young lady passed a marijuana cigarette to me. And I looked at it. Everybody looked at me. That was my first encounter with peer pressure. Without saying a word, I just passed it on to another young lady and says, I don't want any now. So I left it maybe up in the air, maybe later. But anyway, that decision there, I had already made that I wanted to be somebody, that I wanted to be good in sports. So I wasn't going to put that poison inside of my body. Because as you know, and we saw it around us, we saw how kids started doing drugs back then, was actually sniffing glue. From that, graduated to marijuana. From then, they graduated into heroin. And we saw kids lose their lives through this drug. So that was a heck of a lesson that we had to learn fast. But I was very fortunate that I had people in my life that gave me a way out, that told me, hey, you can make it. However, these are the parameters that you have to stay within them in order to make it. So I played at the middle school there. Then I went on to high school, Aviation High School in Queens, where I played 1 year, and I was able to get some scholarships, and ended up going to Taylor University in Indiana, where I played for 4 years under the legend Don J. Odo. May he rest in peace. After that, I started. That's our school in Upland, Indiana. That was my first trip there in 45 years. It was an unbelievable experience where I learned so much. It was really a cultural shock for me, going from the South Bronx to a little town, maybe 3,000 people in a different world in rural Indiana. It was unbelievable. The first year was kind of tough, but only the strong survive, John. And when I went there, I went with a goal. I am not coming back until I make it. So yes, so only the strong survive. We also had at that time, now that you put that title, Jerry Butler, the Iceman, had a song. The title is Only the Strong Survive. And that was one of my theme songs, because back then we had music was positive, was influential, and was rewarding. And what can I say? It just gave us so much energy, positive energy. Another one of my favorite songs was from James Brown, and it was called Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. I mean, he told us that even though we were Latino, we were in Anglo, that we were proud of who we were. So that kind of energy was very important that we received from our artists, our songwriters, our mentors around us, our sports figures like Muhammad Ali. He said, many things. It's Muhammad with Bill Russell and Jim Brown and Lou Alcindor. Later on, he converted to Islam and became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But these guys, they stood for something. They'd say, they were fighting for civil rights, and they boycotted the '68 Olympics in Mexico City because of the condition that the Black Americans and the minorities were going through in America. And these guys, I mean, Lua Santa, he lost millions of dollars in endorsement. And John Carlos, remember John Carlos and Tommy Smith, when they won the gold and silver medal, they raised their fists up in protest. And they lost all the monies, and they were blackballed, you can say. So, see, we also had a rich cultural experience growing up in the '60s and '70s, not only from the athlete, the songwriters, not only from the blacks and Latinos, but also from a lot of Anglo Americans and Jewish Americans and Italian Americans that they saw that it was a time for change. And back in those years, we had the Vietnam War coming in. I remember Muhammad Ali was drafted, and he decided not to go, so they stripped him of his title. And he says, "No, hell no, I'm not going to kill those Khan. They're yellow people just like me." So, wow, I mean, that was a big shock to me. What do you mean? They're yellow people just like me. I'm not going to go and kill people. So, they stripped them. And when it was my time in 1971, I think I was number 76 in the draft. They had a draft back then. I decided I was going to follow his footsteps. So he inspired me that much. I went to Arthur Avenue that was the draft board. And I applied. I got the application. I got my pastors from the church to endorsement. And so I applied for conscientious objector, the CO status. I didn't even know about it until Muhammad Ali. So see how much the athletes of then, the mentors, how much they care about us, how much they inspire us. And then, Johnny, and to your audience, I remember going to the Vietnam Memorial War. And when I went there, I couldn't believe the names of the Latinos that passed away there, and how many Gomez's I saw there. So I saw flashbacks and said, wow, that would have been me. Because the Black and Latinos, they were in the front line. In that war, that was never a war. It was a conflict, because even when they came back with no legs and in wheelchair, they didn't treat them as veterans, because supposedly it wasn't a war. It was a conflict. So it's
you just covered so much. Obviously the what we went through in a neighborhood that was so unique, because it was the South Bronx was the worst, if not, I mean, the worst neighborhood in New York at the time, maybe in the country. So we had all that going on, but then we had all this cultural stuff going on, like you said, the music, the cultural revolution going on. I remember going to see James Brown at Madison Square Garden. My first concert, I got enough money to go down there. And it was like, man, it blew my mind. It was so great. And then we had, all the political stuff going on in my neighborhood. And you probably remember, because like you said, I was a big reader when I dropped out of high school. And I dropped out, for all kinds of reasons. But what happened was, then I went on a journey to learn. And so I read everything. I read anything I could get my hands on, from politics to stuff about UFOs, you name it. Anything I could get, I read, right? But I don't know if you remember, I used to go and get the paper from the Nation of Islam, Muhammad Speaks, and I used to go up on 149th Street and get the paper. And, the Muslims, you probably remember back then in that group, in his organization, they didn't know what to make when this white kid with blue eyes came up and asked them for a paper. They were like, hey, wait, I'm the white devil. What the hell is the white devil asking them for a newspaper, right? But I was crazy. I took, I wanted to read. I wanted to study. I wanted to learn, right? So I bought their paper. Of course, I bought the Black Panther Party paper. I bought the Young Lords paper, Palante, and they were doing all kinds of stuff where we were dealing with drugs and all that, gangs and all the bad stuff. They were doing X-ray testing for people for lead poisoning. They were doing all kinds of serve the people programs at the time. They were a voice. All of them were a voice against heroin, against drugs. So that's kind of what resonated for me, was that these people were saying drugs are bad and they were trying to do something about it. and other people weren't. So I said, well, yeah, I want to do something about it. I want to stop drugs. I want to stop heroin in my neighborhood. So that's kind of what united us as well. That's part of the reason I read so much. You know.
Well, I grabbed a couple of those books. I remember Soul on Ice by Urge Cleaver. I remember Sullivan Brothers, and many others that I borrowed from your shelves. I remember my first book that I read from completely was Man, China, Promised Land by Claude Brown. And later on, I read another book that was very similar by Perry Thomas,
Terry Thomas, right?
Down These Mean Streets. So see, those books, they were describing our lives, and we got so much energy from that. And during that time, like I said, Cultural Revolution, 1965, Malcolm X was one of the other books that I grabbed from your shelf and read from beginning to the end. And these people, they really inspired us also to continue our battles in life and to make it and become successful. I mean, it took a lot, but luckily, we were enriched by that cultural revolution. I remember in 1968, Robert Kennedy visited Alexander Berger Junior High School 139, where I attended, and we went there to inaugurate a garden that was established there in members of his brother, ex-president. Yes, that's Roosevelt Greer there. That was one of his bodyguards. But I remember a picture right on 141st Street in our block where they were together. And I remember, being part of that. That was a great experience, to see him come down a few years later, or maybe not a few years later, a few months later. I think, yes, in 68, he was assassinated, as he was now from Attorney General. He went on to become a presidential candidate. So, we had a lot going on there in the South Bronx as far as the cultural revolution also. And people like Willie Colon, that was a great musician, actually played at my prom, 8th grade prom. I remember him playing. For those friends that are out there watching this podcast, Juana Peña La Bellona. That was the first time he played that song. So I see a lot of people also went back and helped us and inspired us. And I got an opportunity later on in life to thank him for doing that.
Well, I always say life has been so interesting for both of us because we went, on such a journey, different journeys. But like when you reminded me of Kennedy visiting the South Bronx, I just realized, that I work out in Gold's Gym here in Venice, and RFK Jr. works out at the gym with me. So it's kind of like full circle, right? From there in the South Bronx to today. And like you always make fun of me, and I had totally forgot it until you reminded me. But you said when I was younger that this was the guy I was trying to be like.
Yes.
So you always tease me about this, and I was
Dave Draper, the blonde bomber. So you was into sports. You was into basketball. You was your favorite basketball player was Will Chamberlain, and of course you always have to go against your brother. His favorite was Bill Russell. So I mean, we had many debates about who was the best. I mean, you even imitated his shot, a fall away 1 footer high off the glass. That was his classic shot, which was amazing. So you was also into wrestling with Bruno Sammartino, Carl Bobo Olsen, Argentina Apollo. You was into bodybuilding, like I said, basketball. Of course, we spent years. Also karate, also with. You follow the martial arts, yeah. You was a pretty interesting guy, also.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a crazy journey. We both. I'm gonna throw a bunch of pictures of you up because and you're gonna tell me about some of them.
Before I forget, let me tell the audience that one day, just to see how far we go. I remember we went to Palisades Park. That's an amusement park in New Jersey. I must say it must be 10, 15 miles, maybe 20 miles away from home. We went there one day. I guess we were 13, 14 years old maybe. And we spent all of our money. We had to walk all the way back to New York and to the South Bronx. That was unbelievable because I never forget walking in George Washington Bridge, how high it was. It was crazy. Whenever we saw an adult near us, we'll start running. You remember that?
I do now. Now that you raised that, I totally forgot that. Wow.
Yeah, don't forget that. You can't forget that, John. We walked all the way back. We spent all of our money, whatever we had, the little we had on the rides at that amusement park. We had to walk all the way back home.
Well, the adventures we would go on, I don't know if the ones that you went on with me or the ones we went together, but I mean, I used to remember swimming off of Randall's Island. The rats used to be swimming next to me when in the water. I mean, we just did crazy, things, jump from rooftops, from different rooftops. We open up the fire hydrant and then get chased by the police. It was just like one adventure after another.
But we had so much fun. I remember playing, I tell this story to other non-New Yorkers, with one little ball called a Spalding ball. We played about 5 different sports. We played baseball off the stairs, the stoop, right? In the buildings. We played bases. We played fast pitching. We played handball. And we played stickball. It's amazing. With one little ball that we bought for 25 cents, 30 cents. We played about 6 different sports. So it provided us, we were creative also, because we didn't have what other kids had. We went out, the only time we could play football, tackle football, when it snowed, because we didn't have any fields and we didn't have equipment. The only one that had equipment was your brother Pat. And he'll play against us with helmet, with shoulder pads, and he just bully us.
Exactly. And we would try and get him so bad because he was the only one who was working who could afford equipment, right? And like you said, with the Spalding ball, when the Spalding ball would go down the sewer, we would like put strings with bubble gum to try and get the ball and get it back because we couldn't afford the ball again, right?
That's all we had.
I mean, it was
a little pink ball.
A little pink ball.
We played about 6 different sports with one little ball. That's all we had, my friend. We didn't have much. We didn't have much. Even our basketball, we had to kind of make it sometimes and get the rims were hangers that we put on the floor. Remember to dunk?
Yeah. Well, I remember me and my brother were playing in our apartment with the hangers on the, on the thing. And my neighbor down below us on the second floor kind of was banging on the thing. And we kept playing. We're crazy kids. So he comes up and bangs on my door. I open the door and he puts a gun right in my face. And he's going to shoot me, right? And I'm like, slam the door on him, and now I'm freaking out, man. We're like teenagers and this freaking guy got a gun on me. And then, of course, we stopped playing that night. So, but yeah, it was crazy, man, what we would do to just have fun and just, make the best of what we had.
And we did.
Yeah.
We were in heaven.
Well, the funny thing is, like you said, we didn't have a lot. But, when I look back on it, I feel like I had so much. I didn't feel deprived. I didn't feel, I remember the first time I kind of muscled my mother into get me a pair of Converses because we couldn't afford them. And she was buying me what we used to call skips, which everybody made fun of you if you didn't have Converses, right?
Skippers,
right? So I convinced her to finally save the money and buy me a pair of Converses, which she did. And I was in heaven, man. I had my first pair of Converses. But, we felt like we have food, we have friends, we have family, we had clothes, and we were all right. We were all right.
And we communicated with one another. We spoke. Most of the kids now, I mean, they have all the distractions, the phone and the computers, where when we got together, we spent a lot of quality times. I mean, we spent so much time, we could spend our whole life talking about it. We did.
Well, yeah, we could. And trying to jam all this into this hour is going to be tough. But I'm going to show a lot of pictures of you, and you're going to tell me about what some of them are. But this one's one I really like from you with the quote in the background. Anytime you have an opportunity to make a difference in this world and you don't, then you're wasting your time on earth. And tell us about that. But I love that quote. It's a great picture of you. And it kind of sums up, I think, both of us, that we've tried to make a difference in our own ways. We've gone on a journey to, whatever we can do to inspire other kids, to inspire the next generation. And tell us about that for you.
Correct. Those are words from the late Roberto Clemente, the great one. Roberto from Puerto Rico actually lost his life helping others, going to take some food and to the hurricane victims in Nicaragua. That's how he lost his life, actually. So he's always been one of my idols and person that that actually picture was taken at Roberto Clemente Park in Miami, Florida, in a little neighborhood named Wynwood that he used to visit. Now they even changed the name of Wynwood. They've changed it to like Town Center or something, because as you know, Johnny, this is happening. They also many times try to take our history, try to take our identity as people away, which is actually a shame. Something we had a battle with. And I remember going back to my middle school, Alexander Berger Junior High School 139. Now they gave us a number. It doesn't even have the name of the school, which is a shame, because when we don't have an identity, when we don't know who we are, where we came from, and we don't know our history, then we are bound for nowhere.
Well, I remember, talking about that and playing sports. Besides being a great basketball player, I mean, you and your brother Frank and my brother played baseball as well, softball. You love softball. I mean, you could talk sports. I stopped playing softball because I was a catcher and my brother hit me on the head with a baseball bat. that was the end of my baseball career. I said, it's a lot safer on the basketball court than on the sitting behind a thing and getting hit with a baseball bat. But I don't know if he did it on purpose, but he says he didn't. I don't know. But you and your brother Frank, and sports was everything. I mean, you knew it all. You played it all. You guys were such great competitors. And you just loved the games, man. You just really loved it.
And so did you and Pat. We played cars, we flipped them, we trade them, do all kinds of stuff. We collected albums. We always play for something, play for albums, play for fun also. Well,
let me throw up a bunch of pictures of you and tell me stuff, man, because some of these are from the past and are just great pictures of you. Here's a great picture in the day, man. Just once again, look at the styles that we wore. We were so colorful with the jackets and everything.
That was at LaGuardia Airport, actually, and that's Billy Chamberlain, who actually played at University of North Carolina, was MVP of the NIT Classic. I remember going up against Julius Erving, Dr. J, and he actually worked the PS30 during the summer. And true story, that was in my junior year. I went out for my high school team my freshman year, Johnny, and I didn't make it. I got really disappointed. So what I did was started playing. So my junior year, he was working, and this other guy named Bob Davis from PS65 actually played in the NBA. So one day after camp, I played him one-on-one. I played the guy that was in the NBA, Bob Davis, and I beat him for $1. Then I played Billy Chamberlain, who's a junior in North Carolina under Dean Smith, and I beat him also. So he asked me where I played. I said, I don't play anyway. He says, well, play high school, and I'll get your scholarship. So I remember he was so gracious, and this is what we are speaking about, men stepping up, being role models, being friends, mentoring. He actually took me to the airport to go on my flight to college in Indiana. So what a privilege to have a player from the University of North Carolina, a starting, their top player at the time, take me to the airport. So, you can imagine how powerful and how great I felt. Yes. So that was on my way to Indiana to college in 1971.
Like you said, mentorship is so important. And we were lucky to have mentors and people who played a positive influence in our lives, whether it was in sports or in education later or whatever it was. And, we were lucky to have that, man, because it made a difference in survival or not surviving. It was, or having a good life or a bad life. That mentorship turned our lives into a positive life. So both of us were very lucky to have different kinds of mentors. But yeah, man. And then you went on, and we both went on to mentor other people in the different ways that we do. I'm gonna throw up a bunch of pictures, and then you can kind of comment on some of them. I got so much to jam into this next period of time. I'm like, man, we got this is once again, you've kind of known so many sports people, so I'm just going to
No.
throw a bunch of.
Go back to the other one.
Yes, sir. You got it.
That's Tito Harford. That's Al Harford's dad. He's a kid that I ran into at a park. He was 6'9", at 14, 15 years old, 155 pounds. So I got him involved in basketball, and he actually played in the NBA for the Milwaukee Bucks. He was our first Dominican NBA player. So he's Al's Harford, who plays for Boston Celtics' dad. So you see, I still feel I'm in the NBA because of that connection.
Absolutely, man. And then the next one I put up after that was what did I throw up next? I think
that was a picture of my mother there with the late Hugo Cabrera, one of my best friends and teammate. That with him at my side, and we were able to win the first gold medal and qualify for the FIBA World Basketball Championships in the Philippines, 1978. That's Hugo there. That's Nate Tiny Archibald on a recent visit about a year ago. I invited him over, and the Hall of Fame ceremony was dedicated to him here in the Dominican Republic. This is in Santiago, my hometown, at one of the games where they were interviewing me. Santiago, Dominican Republic, is the town where I was born. That's Al Harford, and that's at the game against the New York Knicks last season. That's Sammy Sosa, and that's me on my left back in the days, and when I was Undersecretary of State for Sports for the Dominican Republic. That was at a game at against the Miami Marlins. This is in one of our field trip, and that's by in New York City, right by the what you call it, the museum. By Liberty Park, right? The Statue of Liberty, and where the immigrants first came in.
Ellis Island.
Ellis Island, exactly. These are some of my students from Tequesta Trace Middle School.
Yeah, that's where my mother and my dad both came, Ellis Island.
Wow.
And once again, here's you as an educator, mentoring, providing leadership to young people.
Right. This is in Seattle when Alex Rodriguez, when I was serving under Secretary of State for Sports, and that's Roberto Valentin, may he rest in peace, who was ambassador of the Dominican Republic. Yes, this is one of visit Ricky Sobers, who played at University of Las Vegas, Nevada, who went to Morris High School and played in the NBA for about 14 seasons, and one of his visits to the Dominican Republic at a press conference.
So, we went different directions. I went to California. You went to Florida, Louisiana, but eventually Florida. Then we're going to get into where you're doing today, because we're going to go there. But, years ago, we got a chance to reconnect in person at the airport for a little while. And that's a picture of me and you. And I believe that was in Florida. I was coming back maybe from Trinidad. And we ended up catching up in the airport and just spending some time before I had to catch my plane back out.
Yes, that was in Miami, Florida, to be exact.
Yeah, and I think this might have been the same time I got to hang out with your sister and at her house, and that was a fantastic visit with her. I mean, she was, once again, another great, young woman in the South Bronx. Just another one of our friends, from my friend, your sister, Dulce. And I know she's traveling today. She wanted to be on this, but she can't make it, unfortunately.
Who actually did pretty well for herself. She went to Brandeis University, same college that Angela White Davis, one of our the people we follow also. And from there, she went on to Georgetown University, and she recently retired. She was the chief officer for the National Wildlife Federation in Washington, D.C. So she's another survivor from the South Bronx.
A great woman. It was so much fun hanging out with her after all those years and getting the chance to spend time. It was so cool. Had a great time. But, even before that, just to take us on a little bit of a journey, when I came back to New York from Chicago, when I was going to school out there. I ended up taking a trip that you don't remember, just like you remember things and there's things I don't remember. And I ended up taking a trip to the DR. And your brother was the one, Frank. And here's a picture of me up there with you at an event. But he told me to go do it. And I was like, I try to call you. Back then, we didn't have cell phones. So he said, just go, just take a trip and you'll call him from the airport. So I get to the airport and none of the phones work in the airport. Now I'm like, well, where is he? How do I get to hang out with you? So I ended up going to Casa de Campo on the west coast of the island. And then, I crashed that night and I realized when I got up how expensive it was. And I was like, oh man, I don't even know if I can afford this. And then I went down to the lobby and I said, hey, does anybody know Eduardo Gomez? And it was like, everybody knew you, of course. You were doing the sports program for Gulf and Western. So they called you, you came by and you picked me up and you told them I was with the Yankees and give me the Yankees rate, which like reduced it in like less than half or more. And then you took me to your house and we hung out. And then I'm going to throw up another picture. Maybe this will help you remember better.
Wow.
And that's the three of us, a friend of yours and me and
yes.
you hanging out.
Wow. That's in Alto del Chabón. And that's a beautiful place here in the DR. They have, as a matter of fact, they had the concert for the America, and Frank Sinatra was the one that inaugurated that amphitheater. I was privileged to be there that day to see Frank Sinatra. And what a concert and what a night. I remember going to this nice restaurant afterwards, and he picked up the bill for the entire restaurant. He was definitely a high roller.
Well, the other it was a funny trip for me because the other pieces of it that were even funnier. So when I first got over to the airport in the DR, right, I had never, traveled that much. And so I get over there and the airport security thinks I'm a drug dealer. And they take me in and they do a whole body pat me down. They start questioning me. And I was exhausted, Ed. And I was like, I'm trying to speak as much Spanish as I could to convince them. I'm like, I'm not here. I'm not a drug dealer, man. I'm here to visit, my friend I grew up with. So finally, after about an hour, they let me out of security. And that's when I ended up going out and I had to get a cab. And so I ended up taking a cab and I said, hey, where's the safest place? Where's the greatest place to go? And that's when the cab driver told me Casa de Campo. I said, let's go to Casa de Campo. And that's
wow.
So it was an adventure, man.
Yes. I can see that was a good choice though.
Yeah. And then we ended up, you gave me a great tour. We went to games. You took me to games. You took me to that, press event that you were doing, and you were doing so much work in sports over there at the time. So it was very, very cool time, man. A very cool time. But let's jump forward. And then maybe we'll go back a little bit again. But, just recently you were involved with this thing right here, the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame dinner. And you just came from the DR, went to the Bronx to be part of this Bronx Hall of Fame Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame. Tell us about that.
Well, this is the second year of the Hall of Fame, and I was very fortunate to be selected in the selection committee. And this year, Steve Shepard, the Bear from DeWitt Clinton High School and All-American in Maryland, also played in the Olympic Games 1976. And Butch Lee were two other people that the athletes that were inducted. So I wanted to be there for that event because I feel it's such it's an awesome organization, to recognize the best from the Bronx, and because we have so many valuable people that came out of the Bronx and so many great stories. I mean, when we say Willie Colon, we had John Zorano, we have Bobby Garcia, senators, we had Sotomayor, the Supreme Court judge is from the Bronx, also by Tinton Avenues, the ex-General Colin Powell. From the South Bronx. Another great immigrant story from Jamaica, to grow up where he grew up at and to become the chief of the armed forces and should have been president of the United States. It's a story of his own, It's amazing how, in despite the obstacles that we faced and the poverty and the danger, uh, the criminal activities that we had to survive, that we survived. I mean, we had to be strong to survive.
Well, we were definitely like this thing says right here, nothing soft comes out of the Bronx, man. Um, we we had to be tough. We had to be strong to get through it, right? But we did. And but let's spend a little time, if we can, on your latest adventure, because you just recently have gone on a new adventure to make a difference in your country's life back in the DR. And tell us about that, and tell us about the mission and what you're trying to accomplish. Tell us of all that, because it's like, here you came from, the bottom, like both of us. And rather than forgetting about people, you've contributed. You contributed as an educator. You contributed as an athlete. You contributed as running sports programs. You've just kind of found all these different ways to make a difference in people's lives. And I think that's kind of what we had in common, coming out of who we were and why we were brothers in the South Bronx. But tell us about your new journey. How did you get involved in it? What are you doing? What are the goals, and what are you trying to accomplish today in Dominican Republic?
Well, I retired almost 2 years ago from the school system in Florida, so I needed to remain active, and I wanted to do it in a good way. So it just so happened that I got introduced to the national chief of police here in the Dominican Republic, and he was initiating a sports program that is called De Vuelta al Barrio, which means back to the neighborhood or back to the hood. And basically, what has happened here in our neighborhoods and neighborhoods all around the world, in the United States and different countries, where the neighborhoods where the great people, where we all came out, most of us came out from, are now the heroes there. Are the drug dealers? The heroes there are the gang leaders, and that's not good. And so our kids are being pulled each and every way by them, and we don't have enough people pulling kids and letting them know that via education, sports, and discipline, they can accomplish anything in life. Instead of taking the easy way out, is actually going to lead to jail, to death at 35 years old, is more or less in that world your lifespan. Uh, you're going to be in jail or dead. And not only that, you ruin your personal life, but all the lives of all your family members. So we are giving them another option. So the top athletes of the Dominican Republic has risen to this challenge, and we have done 5 events right now, and no one has turned us down. Whoever hasn't been present is because they had a scheduling conflict, and we have had at our next event, which is going to be on the 26th. We're going to have our 4 Cooperstown Hall of Famers: Juan Marichal, Pedro Martinez, David Ortiz, and Vladimir Guerrero. We're also going to have some other top athletes. Tati Jr. from the San Diego Padres. We're going to have this kid, Ellie, from Cincinnati. Many great players, Moises Alou, ex-players. Miss Universe from the Dominican Republic has been present. We have had journalists, we have priests, and just great people and citizens that are backing us up. So what we do there is present a way out to kids, present hope that via education and sports and discipline they can accomplish, because we did it. So if we did it, they can do it also. So we're trying to visualize for them the journey and the route to take in order for them to make it in life. Because if not, we're just going to continue losing and losing and losing. And I feel that I don't have one day left in my life that I can waste without sending this message out to kids, without transforming life, without giving them hope in life. And I think we have a great program that what we do this right after the event, we do events for them. We do tournament leagues that we provide for them a stage where they can perform where they can receive support and where they can be engaged like we were engaged in sports and activities. That kept us, we didn't have time to get in trouble. And what better way of doing it through sports also, because it's great for discipline, for health, physical and mental health. How much is that worth? Health. And through sports, I mean, we stay in condition. I mean, here we are in our 70s, right? In our early 70s. I'm not going to say exactly how old we are, but we're still doing it. We running, we jumping, and we active. And that has been as a result of being involved in sports.
Well, I about 10 years ago, I got a chance to go scout the DR. That was my second time over there for a movie. And I ended up going through 3 of the prisons. I got a tour inside the prisons. I walked through the courtyards of the prisons with the wardens there, and seeing how bad the conditions were inside the DR's prisons, So just, like you said in the beginning of this, that's the alternative if you don't give them a positive alternative, and they deserve better, and they can accomplish more if they're given that alternative and they take it. And if they learn, they use sports, they use education, then you got a positive future. Like we created a positive future because we use sports and we use education to create that positive future. And that's what they need. And that's so for what you're doing with that, I think is so powerful. Once again, that you're making that contribution. You're going from the South Bronx back home to the DR and making a difference in these young people's lives, man. It's powerful.
It is. And we are blessed. We're truly blessed to be able to do that. And we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our mentors like Billy Chamberlain, like Nate Archibald, among others, Vinny Brewer, Ralph Baker, that were there for us and guided us and gave us an inspiration to do what we have done in our lives. I mean, we couldn't have done it by ourselves. And like old cliche, it takes a village. It definitely takes a village. It takes family in order to support one another, because without that, we wouldn't have made it. We had so little. We came. You're talking about dirt poor. I remember our clothes. My first clothing would. My parents shopped at the Salvation Army on 3rd Avenue. I remember going to school and people were laughing at me, students, and I said, what are you laughing at? Oh, they say that coat is a girl's coat. I said, how do you know? I said, look at the collar. I said, Dad, please buy me another coat. So I actually went shopping with my dad. He bought me another coat for $1 and a hat. Remember those aviators hat?
Yeah. Well, and do you remember my mom used to also go shopping at, there used to be, I forget the name of the bakery, but they had a day-old bread or 2-day-old bread, right? Or 2-day-old dessert, because they couldn't sell it as new. So they sold it at a different location.
I remember that.
Yeah, because she couldn't afford to get the
discount. A discount for even for bread. That's how we were.
And so that's what we grew up, man. We were like, we had parents who did whatever it took to provide for us, but it was what it was. That's all they could get. That's all we got. And but yeah, it was an interesting journey, man. Journey.
But with such little, we were so happy. I mean, we didn't think we were poor.
I know. I always say it because you look back on life and people look back on life and say, well, was it a bad thing that we grew up in the South Bronx in poverty? And I say no, it was a great thing, because it made us who we are, and it made us appreciate and be grateful for the things we have in life, because we started out with nothing. And so this people who have everything, sometimes they go around and they're not appreciative of nothing, and they got everything. And it's like they don't have that gratitude, that appreciation, because they figure, well, I need more. Well, really? And so I'm blessed that, we came from that, because it gave us that gift of, appreciation of whatever you get, man. It's a good thing.
Definitely, John. And I'm so thankful of you and your family, and your friendship is for life. And your mother, your brother, we never forget you, my friend.
Well, back at you, man. We're brothers for life, and your family the same. We're family. We just came from two different countries, but we became related in America, and we became brothers and sisters in America together, right?
It's
And that
amazing.
that was a gift, man. And I'm hoping someday I'll get to go over to the DR and do a movie over there. I like to take a trip back there again.
We definitely have to work on that. So I'm here, and you know how to reach me, and I'm just so proud of the work you have done, of the man and the family man, the dad that you have become. I mean, it's just awesome. So we are truly blessed, my friend, to be able to speak now, even though it's virtually. It's really a rewarding times.
Well, 100% back at you, man. And any closing words you want to say as we finish up?
Well, to all those that are watching the telecast now, we'll see you later. I wish you the best in life, and just let you know that those of you that have reached the pinnacle in life or have been successful, don't forget to give back. Don't forget mentorship is important. I mean, to save and transform lives. That's how. Yes, there's still hope. There's a lot of work to do, but I believe that in positive thinking, I believe in getting together for a common cause, and that's something that we have to work on. The good people have to get together in order to make changes that we need to make in lives.
100% agree, man. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for doing all that you do and what you continue to do and touching people's lives. And everybody over there is blessed by your contribution to them. So they're very lucky that they've found a new mentor, man, to be able to inspire them to greatness, just like we were inspired by the generation before us. So wish you well, brother. Thanks once again, man. God bless you. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you, John. Take care, people.
All right. And everybody, you can join us every Sunday at 2 p.m. This is a special show, and I'll put it on again. I'll replay it, but join us every Sunday at 2 p.m. for Live Courageously. Have a great one.
Too. Thank you.
Bye.